So it is 12:05 p.m. on October 12th, calling the meeting to order for the Economic Development Advisory Committee. Starting off with a roll call vote. Rene Gonzalez. I see he's there, but Rene, we can't hear you.
Okay, so
Okay, can we count him as present since he's there?
Well, usually he'll sign on and he like shows up and then I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he'll try it.
Okay, well, let's just work with that. So currently, he's not.
it's not his, yeah.
Yeah, he was just right there. We'll count him as president. You saw him. Cesar Garay? Not present. Arturo Dominguez? Here. Ray Rocha? Not present. Fernando Baldasso?
Here.
Julie Martnovsky, I'm present, and Mayra Hernandez.
Mr. Chairman, Mayra did say that she will be here, but she's running a little bit.
Okay, we'll just count her when she comes in. So that is quorum. Moving on to citizen comments.
None. At 11:45 there were none, Mr. Chairman.
I see that Renee's present at this point.
Oh,
So
there he is, okay.
we'll count him as present. Moving on to the approval of minutes for September 26, 2023. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Arturo.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Fernando, second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to agenda items, action items, discussion with possible action on scheduling EDAC's strategic planning session for year 23 and 24.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this item was an item that was brought up at the beginning of the year as well. As you as recommendation by one of the committee members as well, they recommended that we brought up the topic to check out schedules and possibly scheduling a 2-hour, 3-hour planning session for the committee to where we can assign, not necessarily assign, but one of the priorities under the leadership of city manager's office is that we take a close look at the Viva Laredo plan, particularly the economic development section of it. As we know, this plan has been,
Chapter 7.
I believe so, I have the actual report on economic development only. And that's the intention of bringing up to the committee the action item on scheduling a strategic planning session where we can put together our work plan, not only for the year. Our intention will be to have a short-term and a long-term plan. Identify those areas that have already been somehow addressed since the formation of the department, and really attack and take a look at the goals and objectives based on this study. And Mr. Chairman, if we could acknowledge Orlando Navarro, Director of Planning and Zoning.
Came to visit with you guys.
Thank you for
Good to see
joining.
you.
We're honored.
No bad words.
No,
not a carne asada.
not at this
Exactly.
meeting. And that's the item for today's meeting. If we want feedback as well from committee members, and so that we can.
So were you able to see, when was this, the comp plan done? Was it 2016? 2017? So are there any plans from the city manager's office or staff to update the economic development strategy? Because not only has it been many years, but we're also post-COVID,
Yes.
which I think everyone would agree has changed a lot economically.
And some of the conversations that we have had as well, it's how Laredo, it's in a different position now than it was back in 2017. Conversations have been held as to the need and to address, considering doing revamping this plan. It's not confirmed. We can definitely follow up with city manager's office and see where that, I guess, idea is and what stage. But at this moment, there hasn't been any confirmation of engaging into revamping this plan.
See, what will be the objective, the main objective Both.
for revisiting on the plan or having our own strategic planning session?
Well,
Well, I think for the strategic planning session, I think it's an important we can address in you as advisory board members who advise our department and give us some sort of, the guidance that is needed as to where the goals and objectives should be for the city of Laredo through because you represent a particular district. And one of the ideas as well is to incorporate assessing and addressing what are the needs, by district as well, what are the areas of opportunity. There has been also conversations about restructuring and reviewing our current incentive policies that the city has, church policy, chapter 380s, and really have a planning session to where we can address those issues, what type
like
of.
fine tune the
Fine
current
tune
programs that we
the
have.
programs that we have, because maybe some of the policies that we have in place don't apply the same to every district. The needs from one district are very different from the needs from another district, as well as the opportunities. There are different opportunities for industry diversification, and how can we have solid guidelines that can adapt to the needs of the city.
Well, first of all, it's a very broad plan. I'd say 100%, which things have been done by any part or department or entity in the city, and to tell the city manager, look, out of this plan, this chapter, only 10% has been done. There's a lot of things to be done before we can even start updating something if we haven't even done what they told us to do it in the first revision.
Would you like to? Like, where are we, when it comes to economic development programs, like a grading system and see what percentage have been done and get a report from them, is that what would you be?
Well, that's what I'm suggesting we do, because I think that was the whole plan, and if we haven't even done what were suggested to us, I think we should start working on that first before we can even say, let's update something that we haven't even accomplished yet.
If I can touch,
Yes.
so I'm glad you brought that up. So comp plans in other cities, there's one, they're updated every year, but two, very much to your point, before even they are updated, they are measured, and we've never done that.
And if I may add, I think it's important to take into account as well that even though this comp plan was made back in 2017, the department wasn't created until possibly 3 years after. No. No, and the reason I bring this up is because I think we're at a point where, to your point, and I think already established, and to where we can evaluate and analyze what's the status on each one of that's my point, now that the department is fully established, it'll give us a good pathway moving forward.
I'm gonna actually give you an out and say that other cities don't have, the city doesn't evaluate that, it's usually a third party. That being an organization or a company that comes and evaluates it and truly measures it. That's
It
typically
makes more
the.
sense. For transparency purposes, it makes more sense.
I think for the entire
University or something.
Yeah.
comp plan, maybe, at the committee level and department level, I think this is a good, first step.
Somebody that you're not gonna hire, but we can help out.
Through strategic, planning session that can allow us
Analyze.
to analyze and evaluate, and also set be fully attacked, moving forward, as in a form of a short-term and long-term plan.
Mr. Chairman, not only COVID, but the city managers that have crossed through this building would also be a challenge for the success of each project. So to know where, also for the city manager at the present time to understand what was going on, he'd have to have a history lesson himself. And I agree with Mr. Dominguez, and that would be a proper thing to do.
Comment
Right,
on
after that, we can talk about updating, absolutely.
Yes, and it
Or
can be.
what part should be updated?
So are we saying as a group, well, Cesar, Ilan, do you have any questions or comments?
Would there be a list of projects? Like, I know they have a list in the planning department and the building department of infrastructure projects, but economic development projects, does such a list exist to begin with from a strategic plan?
Not necessarily, the comp plan, it's not necessarily project oriented, but to your point, we can find a way to incorporate the existing or completed projects into the different categories that serve, the different areas of the comp plan, If there are an XYZ project and we as a committee, we can surely identify that falls into, inner city redevelopment or incentive, policy
incentives,
reviews.
You
We
get the
can,
380, boom.
right, yes. So to your point, we can definitely, work in having some sort of alignment of the things that have progressed, the things that have already been implemented, and align them with, for a lack of a better term, with check marks on where we are on each one of the sections.
Mr. Dominguez, to set it as a motion?
So, yeah, if you'd like.
All right, I'll put the motion to
Second.
measure and review the comp plan, what we've done since it started.
Just for clarity, is the entire comp plan or the economic
Chapter.
development
Chapter.
department?
Chapter
Okay.
7, I think it is, no?
It's just the economic development strategy.
I just wanted to make sure.
Tab number
That's
6.
Seven.
Put Chapter 7, put chapter.
I don't think it's actually a chapter, it's actually a
Yeah.
subsection. So you just,
Subsection 9, I think.
I would call it the economic development strategy. Just
Yeah.
refer to that
Exactly.
in your motion.
No, second.
So we have a second, so the discussion, if I understand correctly from your motion, we need that information before we as individuals start trying to direct us. Strategic planning is, we're doing it without data. We're just saying what we think versus what is out there.
I guess you can also add a SWOT analysis to be able to move on to the next chapter of the strategic plan.
There is a SWOT
We
analysis
just need to
included in
update
the
it.
We'll update it.
complaint, but
Yeah.
to your point,
Yeah.
whenever we hold our strategic planning session, we can, have our, as a committee, we can have our own, SWOT analysis on the current state of our economic development of the city as a committee. But the comp plan already has a SWOT plan were extracted from the SWOT analysis that was conducted back then. And if I just may recommend adding to the motion for staff to provide with tentative, dates for the strategic planning session, given that this will be, I would like to recommend allocating at least 2 hours for this.
So, are we doing the strategic planning session before we have, I guess I'm just trying to understand the, yeah,
No, we have to look at this first before you.
okay,
I mean, using the strategic plan card as part of the tools.
yeah. So, the date would then, because I don't see this being, something like this being completed in a month.
I would recommend that maybe at our next committee meeting, we have the initial, I guess, document or matrix on the projects and how we can better identify or align those.
I think it should be
Yeah.
a special meeting just for this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As staff, could you send me a copy just of that section so that we can start looking at it?
This section, yes?
Yeah, just this section so that no para para llevarnos a la casa.
¿Puedes llevar el chapter, no? O las puras hojas.
You can take the one that you have, we'll replace
No el
it.
libro, pero la hoja.
Okay.
And I can email you an
Okay.
electronic, we can email you an electronic copy as well.
Just give it a scratch, right?
Mhm.
Second.
Arturo, can you repeat the whole motion?
Hi, Crystal.
I'm just looking at your,
Analyze the City of Laredo comp plan, strategic, what was the name?
economic development strategy.
The strategies of the plan, and what else?
I would say develop a scorecard.
To develop a scorecard and see where we're at.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
Okay. None. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. With that, unless there's, just move to adjournment. Do I hear a
Yep.
motion to adjourn? Do I hear a second?
I like this meeting. One item.
Okay.
That's it.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Consider
We're
this.
adjourned.
What?